Hi, in this video, I'm going to cover 3 mistakes that financial advisors make when it comes to client acquisition in times of uncertainty. So, I've done a series of videos on how we're living in some of the most uncertain times that I've encountered in my career. I've been doing this 40 years, and there's always been uncertainty in every market. I've dealt with 12 wars or conflicts that the U.S. has been involved with. I've been in multiple major market declines, lots of uncertainty in all kinds of different areas of our economy and in the headlines and everything. But right now, I must admit, there is more uncertainty than I've ever experienced. You add on top of all this uncertainty, we've got AI. AI is trying to replace financial advisors, and we've got digital assets and a bunch of new technologies that are just changing everything in our industry. So, how does that tie back into client acquisition? It's time that advisors realize that if we're going to survive AI and all this uncertainty, we have to be radically different in the minds of the clients, and we have to actually be radically different and better than other financial advisors that our potential clients could choose from. That's what I'm going to cover in this video. There are 3 areas that are mistakes that advisors are making, especially in times of uncertainty, and I'll talk about what to do about them. So, what's the first mistake? It's not getting out of the office enough. I call it momentum. In normal times, there's uncertainty, but not enough to worry about. Many advisors settle into a routine when it comes to client acquisition. There's a way you like to do it. Many advisors rely on saying things like, most of my clients come from referrals. And I'm not saying that they don't. What I'm saying is, if you can actually become radically different and better than any other financial advisor in your market, and you can deliver on that, then your referrals will increase. You'll begin to get unsolicited client referrals at that point. If that's a mistake, if just doing the same old client acquisition routine as you've always done, why is that a mistake? It's because in times of uncertainty, I've learned the hard way over my career that you need to really pick up the pace. That when you first start feeling headwinds in your business, in the uncertainty that you're dealing with in current times, you need to really pick up your activity. What am I recommending? I'm recommending what I always thought was obvious, but I've come to find out over the last many decades that most advisors think that what I'm about to say is just unnecessary, maybe even excessive. But I found it's true. The momentum that I always felt was required, and this is going back to my 20s, I realized that client acquisition requires a substantial amount of effort until you get enough referrals that you're acquiring at least one ideal client a month purely from referrals. But until then, I realized early on I need to be investing at least half of my time on client acquisition. So let's just say you're working 40 hours a week. It's a full-time job for you. You're wise not to invest more than 20 hours a week on client service. You need to reorganize your methodology so that you can exceed client expectations in just half the time that you're investing per week. I'll say this, I recognized early on that while I thought I needed all 5 days, Monday through Friday, to just handle client service, no. If you really put your mind to this, you can do your client service in 2 days a week. That will leave 3 days a week for client acquisition if that's what you're willing to do. How do I know? Because I was managing 100 ideal clients for many years, year after year, and I managed those clients in 2 to 3 days a week. I figure if I can manage ideal clients, exceed their expectations on a consistent basis, most advisors could do the same. So make it your goal. You need to invest 20 hours a week on client acquisition, and that means blocking time on your schedule for at least 20 hours a week to get out of the office and rub elbows with potential clients or referral sources. You need to be interacting with a minimum of 10 non-clients per week. And if you're not, then you don't have enough momentum to deal with the uncertain times that we're dealing with. However, if you're listening to this and you're willing to ramp up your activity, you're willing to block half your time during the week for client acquisition, getting out of the office, interacting with non-clients, and you commit to interacting with a minimum of 10 non-clients per week, now you've really raised the level of your game to the point where you'll make it through these uncertain times. So that's number one. What's number two? The mistake that so many advisors are making right now is using AI and I'm going to say automation incorrectly. The mistake that's currently being made is many in our industry, I would say most in our industry, they recognize that AI is there and that it can be useful, but our industry is putting automation in the client's face. They're giving clients an opportunity to ask questions that they might have about their accounts or whatever by just interacting with AI. The client calls in. If it's a major firm, the client's actually talking to AI, or if they log into their website, they're chatting with AI on the website. That's a mistake. For the advisor that wants to survive this period of uncertainty and come out with your job intact and you're growing your ideal client community on a consistent basis, you're going to not use AI that way. You're going to use AI behind the scenes to make planning and all the projections and anything having to do with math. That's something that AI can do lightning fast and do for you. But as far as interacting with the clients, go analog. That's my recommendation. I was a financial advisor in the 1980s. Have you ever stopped to wonder how did advisors like me deliver truly comprehensive financial services to ideal clients back before there were cell phones, before there were desktop computers? We did it. It was analog. So what do you do today to radically differentiate yourself and make the point that this is about a human relationship with a skilled and experienced advisor like you? It's going to be a real human relationship that AI can't replace. That means when you get an email, you return it with a phone call. It's okay to return emails. I'm just saying, if it's the top tier of your client community and these are your largest clients, imagine the experience if they email you and you call them. Just pick up the phone. Second thing, I'm going to say handwritten notes. If you ever have a meeting with a client and they mention something personal about their life, how about go to the store, buy some note cards, and just write them a quick note, handwritten note, lick and put a stamp on the envelope, and when they get it at their house, I'll bet yours is the only handwritten note they've received in 3 months, 6 months, maybe all year. You'll stand out. You'll be radically different than any other advisor they've ever dealt with or potential advisor if this is a potential client. Why am I mentioning this? Because I've been working with and consulting and mentoring high-end financial advisors since 2002. I'm telling you things that require effort, but I know because I've worked with so many successful advisors, there isn't 1% of you listening to this that will actually go out and buy note cards and write handwritten notes, put a stamp on the envelope, and put it in the mail. Why am I mentioning this? It's not to discourage you, it's to inspire you. It's worth the effort. Imagine of all the financial advisors out there, if you're the 1 in 100, I bet it's not even 1 in 100. If you actually go out and start sending handwritten notes to people, most advisors won't, you will stand out in a much more significant way than you even realize. And the third is, rather than book a Zoom meeting with a client, let's say a client has a quick question, you book a Zoom meeting. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I do it myself. But what if you call the client and suggest a quick face-to-face meeting? You look on your schedule, and while you've got them on the phone, you just say, look, I've got 30 minutes tomorrow at 2, or we can meet Thursday at 9 a.m. Would you like to meet face-to-face? Just the offer to have face-to-face meetings and for you to have a mental bias that face-to-face meetings in an age of AI is far superior to a Zoom meeting. But I'll admit that a Zoom meeting is better than an AI financial advisor that's trying to give the client advice through typing or talking to AI on the internet. So yes, Zoom is better than digital relationship. That's a human interaction. But I'm just making the point that a face-to-face meeting is superior to all of those when it comes to developing a real authentic human relationship with the client. The third mistake that advisors make in times of uncertainty, in my opinion, is advisors are obsessed in persuading clients and particularly potential clients that they're better. Well, far be it from me from saying you shouldn't be better. Of course you should. It's really one of the critical elements of actually retaining clients that you are thorough, you are better than other financial advisors, you are more proactive, nothing falls through the cracks. Yes, you have to be better, but better comes after they've hired you. What I'm saying is, if it's a potential client, you can say you're better till you're blue in the face, but they're not going to actually believe it until they experience it. So what do you do instead? The mistake that advisors make is not understanding that when it comes to potential clients, different is better than better. You need to be able to describe what you do in a way that is so radically different and superior to anything that they've ever heard from any financial advisor. That's the mistake that advisors make. They don't sit down and figure out, what can I say, what can I do to demonstrate that we are radically different. We're not just a little different than the other advisors in town. We are, by orders of magnitude, radically different than every other financial advisor in the market. Like how? Okay, let me walk through and give you some examples. One is you're radically different when it comes to service standards. You pledge to get back with clients lightning fast, unlike any other firm in town. And it's okay to get cocky and say, and we're the only firm in town that is this lightning fast when it comes to responsiveness. Or, and I've talked about this in many videos, but for most firms, you describe what you do by listing a list of services. We provide financial planning, we provide tax services, we provide estate planning, retirement planning, education planning, whatever. Don't do that. If you want to be radically different than every other advisor in your market, promise outcomes. And you can watch other videos that I've made on this topic, but what we've done at our firm for decades is, rather than list for a potential client all the things that we could do and can do and do, instead we talk about the outcomes. For clients that work at our firm, we make a pledge. We pledge to every client, you will always be on track to your goals. You will never have any financial surprises that could have been avoided by proper planning, and you'll make better financial decisions in all areas of your financial life, including major purchases and everything financial. So those are the three outcomes that we explain to both clients and potential clients. If you want to really be different, you put skin in the game. You explain you'll always be on track to your goals in working with our firm, or else we will whatever, fill in the blank. And I've seen lots of creative options for you to put skin in the game. All the way from, if you come in for one of our regularly scheduled client progress meetings, and by the end of that meeting, if you're not on track every time we meet, we'll give you a gift certificate to your favorite restaurant in town, and you can have dinner on us. But all I'm saying is, if you're really serious about this, you will make promises for outcomes rather than services, and if you really want to differentiate yourself, as we always have, you'll put some skin in the game. That's all I wanted to share. You need to increase momentum, go analog so that you radically differentiate yourself from AI and all automation, and you recognize that being different is better than better, because once they become a client, then and only then do you have an opportunity to demonstrate that you are actually better. So I hope this is helpful, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.